right, Governor Snyder, I'd like to start off, I think, with the business climate
Yeah.
that we have here in the state of Michigan over the past year. I'd like to take a look at that. Unemployment is at a 14-year low. But is Michigan, are we attracting the amount of business and the amount of new business that we should be, or that you feel that we should be?
Well, we're doing very well. We're doing better than the national average by far. But what I would say is I want to do even better. When you've got a good climate to do these things, you want to stay on the gas. And so we're seeing very positive feedback from the marketplace, both in terms of Michigan companies growing and our ability to attract companies here. The huge opportunity that I believe we have as a top priority of mine is this whole issue of helping people get career connected, particularly career tech education, the skilled trades. There's a huge national issue out there where we have people that really want to work, but they need additional skills and training to be successful: welders, auto technicians, tool and die people, so agriculture. Many great opportunities, and I want Michigan to be the leader in that. We are a leader today. I want us to be number one.
But in terms of bringing more business to the state of Michigan, are you concerned that Michigan might slow down a little bit because of less investment to the MEDC?
Well, the MEDC's done reasonably well. Again, I got us largely out of the tax credit business. We have some legacy issues to work off of. But one of the things, and I've been doing economic development work a long time, we need to make sure we have stable, good funding for the MEDC. But the more important issue is this talent question and some of the others. That's what you're going to hear more and more from companies is they're literally going to look to go to places that have a great quantity of wonderfully trained people that are ready to go to work, and Michigan's fabulous for that. We got great hardworking people here.
Governor, when you took office, Michigan was at the end of a very long, painful economic slide. By the time you leave office, where would you expect the state to be? Will we have recovered beyond that point where we began our plummet?
Well, I'd like to say that's the case now, and I'm not sure if we'll get all the way back because we had the largest hole in the country. I mean, we suffered a depression in a relative sense, but we've made tremendous progress. So I want to see that comeback continue. And it's not just about employment. I want to help address the issues of underemployment. You know, how do we keep on creating better economic opportunities for people? So a couple focus areas, because we're doing really well as a state, but there are places not participating as much. So one of the areas of concern are some of our urban areas, the neighborhoods. So that's where it's great. We're working on microloan programs, other ways to bring business and training to those areas. I launched a program a little while ago called Rising Tide, which is to go to the 10 regions of the state and pick underserved or challenged smaller communities or rural areas that aren't participating as much that want more help. And so we've done a focused effort there to help bring in economic development, talent development, community development to help support those communities. And I think that's really exciting.
I want to look back at one of your accomplishments this year. One of the big ones was finally getting a roads deal. People grumbled that maybe it wasn't the best deal that you could have gotten. Are you pleased with what you ended up with?
Yeah, I'm pleased, Christy. It's relentless positive action. We made positive progress. Again, was it everything I would have looked for? No, but that's part of the political process. This is good. If you look at the history of transportation funding in the state of Michigan, it only gets done about every 15 to 20 years. You had to go back to 97 and then the late 70s. In each case, it took multiple years. If you look at the package in terms of new revenues we're raising, it is the largest new revenue influx that we've had in over half a century. That's huge. The other part is tightening our belt to be better focused with state resources to help with this issue is something that we should be able to do with a growing economy. So we are making progress, and we're doing some structural reforms. The competitive bidding, the warranty work being done, the fact we're adding inflation to the fuel tax piece. If that would have been done back in '97, we probably wouldn't even be having that discussion we had to have in recent years.
Now, Governor, we're taping this in your Detroit office where you spent a good deal of time during the bankruptcy. You're about to embark on another major Detroit project, and that is fixing the schools, restructuring the schools. What are the steps you see coming up over the next few weeks, and how do you expect it to play out in 2016?
Yeah, I think it's critically important we improve education in Detroit, the whole system, in a comprehensive way. Because the children of Detroit deserve a better answer, and that's great for the entire state of Michigan. So we need legislation introduced, and that's something that at least some major portions of it can get done the earlier part of next year, because I'd like to implement some of those.
Finances first?
Finances first, because if you go to that point, Nolan, I think there's an opportunity to avoid any bankruptcy concerns or having courts decide this issue short of bankruptcy and do a proactive legislative solution. To say, let's do an old co, new co model to help put more dollars in the classroom and deal with their legacy debt and create a Detroit Public Schools that can, first of all, stabilize and then grow and thrive in a positive way. That would be a great outcome. Other pieces that go with it, there's obvious issues about governance of the educational system within Detroit, both in terms of DPS, but also about how we can work on having charter schools work better with the public school systems, a better alignment, and higher standards. Again, I think there should be a higher standard asked out of all schools in Detroit, whether they be DPS, EAA, or charter schools.
Does the EAA go away?
No, I don't necessarily see it go away. I'm open to having EA be part of the discussion on comprehensive education reform, but a number of the reforms they're doing in EAA are working. These were persistently failing schools, so we shouldn't just walk away from that. How do we integrate that? How do we be successful in a broader context? So when people talk about the EAA, I'm happy to have it be part of the dialogue, but in a comprehensive solution, not to just sort of pick on EAA, because it is doing a lot to help kids that had much worse choices before. Again, they've made a lot of positive progress.
Can you understand, though, that people are skeptical when they say that the state is going to be going into Detroit public schools and they look at the EAA and people haven't been happy with what's happened there?
Well, again, when you say people, are these adults having issues with other adults, or this is about helping the kids get a better education than what they had before? These were the worst performing schools in Detroit in the state of Michigan in many respects. We've seen positive progress, and that's a good thing. So let's make sure we're reinforcing the positive progress elements and look at opportunities on how we can learn from all the experiences. Because again, don't we want a robust educational environment for kids in Detroit?
I think everyone can agree with that. Talk to me a little bit about the timeline, because when we originally talked about your schools plan, you were hoping to get this done before the end of the year. What are you looking at now?
Yeah, we're behind, to be open, and I think one of the major features, twofold. One would be the whole transportation issue, I think, consumed a lot of mind share in the Lansing environment at the state level. The other one is this is a very difficult issue. This is another 40, 50-year-old in the making, really difficult challenge. And so the good part is I appreciate the Detroit Coalition work, but we've had stakeholders across from Michigan wanting to really speak up before the legislation went in a much greater volume than you'd normally expect on any piece of legislation. And so we've been taking a lot of input. And hopefully that will make the process go better as we go through this. This is still going to be difficult, because the way, if you step back and look at Detroit, aren't we all excited about the wonderful progress we're seeing in the city? It's incredible, but we had to go through a bankruptcy to get there. That was really hard. Now that we've gotten it and we're seeing people have a positive perspective on Detroit as being recognized around the world now as one of the exciting places, to help sustain that for the long term, solving this Detroit education issue is a critical element of that. If we want to make it long-term sustainable, we need to solve this issue. And so I think this is the appropriate step to say, let's take that next group of hard issues on, let's solve them with common sense solutions with Michiganders working together.
Governor, we're entering the political season big time now. You've called out Donald Trump for his comments on immigration and on Muslim immigrants. Should he get the Republican nomination, would you stump for Trump?
Well, again, I'm not even going to hypotheticals on all the Trump stuff. I've made my position clear that what he said was, with respect to banning Muslims, is absolutely inappropriate. That is not the spirit of America. I strongly disagree with that. The context behind that, when you get into presidential politics, I'm a proud governor of Michigan. I want to create more and better jobs. I want to solve Detroit education, and all the time I spend talking about presidential elections is taking time away from that, not adding value.
Let me ask you a different way. Will you support the Republican nominee regardless?
Well, again, I'm not even going down. I'm a proud Republican, and I'm proud of that position. And again, all Republicans should not be grouped with Donald Trump in my book.
I want to look back at something that was very difficult that happened this fall, and it was the crisis in Flint with the water system there. You have appointed a task force to look in to see exactly what happened, and there is also an investigation being done by the EPA. Can you give us any kind of progress, or when you think you are going to be hearing from that task force and what they have found?
Yeah, they're doing a lot of great work, and I appreciate it. They're a great group of individuals doing this independently, looking at issues and concerns. They recently sent me a letter last week or so saying how they'd like to see more coordination with the state on working in that. And I've actually in the process of responding to that as we speak, because we want to make sure that they have access to information, they have the opportunity to talk to whoever they need in a very open fashion, and how they can come up with both what factually happened and what recommendations they have. This was a serious situation, And so we've tried to be very proactive about, offering water testing, water filters, blood testing, follow-up work going on. I'm proud of, in particular, the work we're doing in the schools about testing down to the fixture, what's taking place in the schools in Flint. Because that's something that wasn't required by either federal or state rules.
And Representative Dan Kildee is called saying, looking down the road, we're going to be needing more state resources and more federal resources to be able to help the children who might have been affected by this. Do you agree that the state will have to kick in some kind of money somewhere down the line?
Well, again, we've already made major contributions. Let's get the facts, let's keep working this, and let's remember, water isn't the only source of lead, and so we need to make sure we're encouraging people to look at other places that could create a threat. Lead-based paint is still a major issue out there. And then let's recognize that Flint had a particular issue because of the water system, but lead is an issue across all of Michigan and nationally. So let's make sure we're keeping a broader dialogue to take care of kids and people everywhere.
All right, you want to wrap it up, Nolan?
Well, I just want to ask, you've got 3 years left. How important is it to your remaining agenda for Republicans to hang on to the House the next fall?
Well, I'd love to see to hang on to the House, because look at the track record we've achieved over these last few years. Should be proud in Michigan. We're a good role model for how the federal government should be operating. Year one, we went in and did a balanced budget. We did tax reform. We did regulatory reform. We're paying off our long-term debt. Wouldn't it be great to see our national government have a simple, fair tax system to balance their budgets and to take care of our national debt? We've done far beyond that in the state of Michigan. We're a good role model about how people can work together. We need less negative and blame. We need more relentless positive action, and we're a role model in Michigan.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Governor. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.